Hello, Mr. Hausman. How may I help you?
Hi. I wanted to use the business center, but all I saw was this sad, old, dusty Windows XP computer and a dot matrix printer in the corner.
Yes, that's it. We love serving our guests.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Last week, Japanese scientists placed explosive detonators at the bottom of Lake Loch Ness to blow Nessie out of the water.
It's time for Current Trends with Dave Eisen.
Hey everybody, welcome back to No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman. I, again, am Glenn Hausman. If you couldn't tell from the name of the show, well, you certainly can tell now from listening to me talk to you. And today I'm very excited to have with me Dave Eisen. He's the editor-in-chief at Hotel Management Magazine. Now, you probably know hotel management from being around for over 100 years, which is absolutely incredible, but also because I write 2 columns a week as editor-in-large with Hotel Management. And I am having an absolute great time getting out there and complaining about all sorts of stuff in different ways to Dave and to the entire universe. Dave, how are you, man?
I'm doing very well, Glenn. I want to thank you. This is my second appearance on your podcast. I feel like I'm like maybe like a Steve Martin type character on SNL. I just keep coming back and getting invited, so I really appreciate it.
Well, that's the whole point, Dave. I mean, besides the obvious suck up to you because you're theoretically in charge of my stuff at Hotel Management, I love what you have to say. I love what you do, and I want to be able to have you on as a regular from time to time, hopefully every single month. And now that you're here today, I see this as the start of getting you into a rhythm of being here every 3-4 weeks or so.
I love it, man. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, for sure. I had a great time with that last one. So again, I just want to say Dave is editor-in-chief of Hotel Management. Be sure to read all the columns that I write twice a week at hotelmanagement.net and follow me at Traveling Glenn on Twitter, and I'll notify you of not only the new podcasts going up, but every single column that I write. And please, I got to suck up and ask you guys to give that 5 stars rating on iTunes. I finally got it. It's up there. It's noticeable. People are doing the 5-star things, Dave. So I'm very excited that this thing is up, it's running, and we're off the ground.
I'm hearing great stuff about you. I love the ratings. That's fantastic. And love the plugs, man. I got to think of a better – when I come on next time, I got to be more prepared to plug myself. You're like overshadowing me here.
Well, you should, because I am all about shameless plugs. Because people aren't paying for this show, so they've got no choice but to listen to me drone on and on and on about all the plugs. But, Dave, you've got a couple of stories to tell, a couple of experiences to share. But while you're doing that, keep in the back of your mind how you could figure out how to plug yourself at the end of this segment. But, Dave, I'm so excited to have you here today because you suffered very greatly in terms of our first world travel problems that we have over here. You thought you were going to have a regular trip home. You thought we were going to be able to record this show early in the morning, but that did not work out so well. What happened?
Well, I have great suffering, and I'll tell you all about it. And I want to tell you, I appreciate you letting me sleep in a couple hours more in pushing the podcast back. But I'll be as brief as possible. I've never really had this kind of thing happen to me, not that when it doesn't happen again. But my trip home from Miami last night did not go as planned. I first want to say, getting through the airports for me has been a breeze. I got precheck, TSA precheck, which has really been a godsend. Spend that $85, 5 years. You have to take the shoes off. Don't take the laptop out of the bag. Go right through security. Not a problem at all.
Great. And I do now, because we're doing plugs, make sure you stick around for the second half of the show. We're actually going to be talking with the TSA about the pre-check program and how cool it is and what it's like for those guys getting bashed around a little bit and it's like the psychological impact it takes on them. So, Dave, please continue.
Yeah, big component of it. But anyway, so I get to Miami last night, Miami International Airport. I'm flying back to good old New York. I have a 6 p.m. flight. Weather's fine from what I hear. Anyway, so we all crowd onto the plane. We get in. We're in our seats, ready to rock and roll, take off. And then the voice of God over the loudspeaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this flight has been canceled. Please go to gate B37 to rebook.
Oh,
of
God.
course, everyone moans and groans. We all, stand up, shuffle back out. And of course, I'm at the back of the plane, right? So it's going to take me even longer. Anyway, this is really where the suffering began. So we all.
Well, I think the suffering began long ago. That you got seated in the back of a plane. Dave, you travel a lot. What are you doing in the back of a plane?
This is true. I'm a hotel guy. I'm not an airline guy, so I need to figure out better ways to get it. I was in group 2 though. I get that though. Usually I'm in group 4, so I'm moving up up the ranks. I'm getting on the plane earlier. In any case, we all get to rebook. And we find when I get there, there's, I would say, a line that's maybe 150, 200 people deep, just standing there. The line's not moving. And the reason it's not moving is because they have, and I'm not going to name the airline. I think it's a disservice to do that. So
yeah, I love that you're going to take the high road on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to take the high road on that one. Anyway, so 3 customer service people behind the desk to service 200 or so people. And long story short, and I had to rebook because I wanted to get home, right? So standing in a line, Glenn, for 3.5 hours is never my idea of a good time. And that's exactly what happened. I waited 3.5 hours in line for a 20-second conversation for rebooking. Now, I tried to do it on my own through, the means I had, calling the 1-800 number.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
after waiting 25 minutes, I don't have that many minutes on my phone. I can't wait that long. So I ended that one. Tried to go through the app. That didn't work either. I get up there, and, I want to get rebooked. And basically what happened was they had rebooked me on a flight to Newark. But you know what, Glenn? I live in Queens, so going to Newark really at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, it's not my idea of a good time.
No, I mean, LaGuardia has got to be your favorite airport, even though people love to bash it.
LaGuardia was sold out.
Oof.
And I finally figured out to get me out of JFK at midnight. I get home basically 4 a.m. But the thing is, though, Glenn, it's not. Yep. I understand that these things happen, but it was just kind of the lack of care on the part of this airline. That you would think they'd have people, and really what it comes down to, Glenn, I think, and it has to do with anything when you do suffer something like this, is that you just want to be in the know. You want to be aware of what's going on. Right. And there was no one there to let anyone know what was going on. You literally were just there on your own, and you had no idea what was next. And that, I think it's just when you don't have control like that, that's really what people mind, and that's what airlines. Right. That's what airlines need to take care of.
Yeah, and I simply don't understand why they continue to behave this way when these little mini crises hit, because people are not unreasonable. They understand stuff happens.
You're right.
And if they knew what was going on, even if you told them, hey, guys, you're effed, you're not going anywhere tonight, at least you know what's going on and not have that sense of anxiety that everything's going to get all messed up. And I think I can make the best relation to what I'm seeing now in the New York City subway systems, right? For my whole life, from the time I moved into the city until the time I moved out, every 30 seconds, I'd be getting anxious and impatient. I'd be stepping up to the yellow line, looking down the tunnel to see, is a train coming? Is a train coming? Why isn't the train coming? Right. What the heck's going on with the train? But then they started putting in those signs. The next train arrives in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 12 minutes. And then you know what? It eliminates all that anxiety, and you just relax because you have that critical piece of information. The airlines know what's going on. They just refuse to tell you, and I don't get what it's in for them. They don't like getting yelled at, I would think.
You hit the nail right on the head. It's about just, assuaging people. People are nervous, they have anxiety, but like I said, with the subway, it's an easy fix. But the biggest thing here, I think, that you can take away from this, and I think, what we write about hotels, the hotel industry, hoteliers can too, is that, and I've always said this, that a service recovery is one of your great tools in your toolbox for an airline, for a hotel.
Great point.
If something goes wrong and you're able to fix it, at least show concern, empathy, real quick, like right away, You might have a loyal guest for life, There are a lot of people who go to hotels and nothing ever happens wrong. It's great. But they take it for granted, and they just think of it's going to happen like that every time. But when something breaks down, there's a breakdown, and something, but there's a great recovery from a staffer or something like that. You're going to have a customer for life, and I think that's what a lot of these companies, airlines, and hotels miss out on. Yeah,
you know what, Dave? I think you're right, because what I've found is a lot of hotel experiences, while great, are extremely forgettable. And you just can't remember where you stayed when. But if something actually bad happens, but then they fix it in a superior way, that gets locked into your mind, and you will always remember that experience, and you're more likely to share that experience and why it was successful for you with your friends, family, online, all that kind of good stuff.
Exactly. You're going to take the TripAdvisor, you're going to go online, and by name you're going to say, this guy, Craig at the Holiday Inn in, wherever, Tallahassee, did this for me, and that, I mean, you're going to have a guest. That was an IHG plug, by the way. So
yep.
I expect them to appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're sucking up to somebody too on this podcast, so that's good. So Dave, I find that all very interesting, and it makes me curious as to why people don't understand that. It's strange to me that after all of this time and all that we know about consumer behavior and how the psychology works, that people would try to continue to hide behind lack of information and kind of confuse you and keep you all stressed out. And I should add, you should follow Dave at DavidEisen3 on Twitter, especially if you want to see some pictures of really long lines, because I don't see enough of those in my life, David.
Yeah, long lines and suffering. I mean, first world problems, right? But but people want to get home, and for me, thank God, I see people, there with families, with kids, and their 2-year-olds crying. I can't imagine having to deal with that on top of this. So for me, I got a little frustrated, but I did make it home, and I'm talking to you now, so everything's
one. All right. So what I'm really curious about, Dave, is these people, if you got to take a look at these pictures, because they actually look as disappointed and as upset as Bernie Sanders did last night during the DNC convention when they kept flashing to him. They all have these massive pusses on their faces. And but more importantly, David, was the bars still open? And were you able to get there and drink your sorrows away?
Oh, I had a nice I made a beeline right before my midnight flight for the only bar/restaurant was open, and I had a nice double tequila neat, and I just wallowed away in that over some chicken tacos too. So I was all right. I was satiated, so I was good.
All right, good. Well, I am relieved. And now, David, you weren't just in Miami for no reason, not just to have this great story to share with us, but you were at the NABHOOD convention. And for all of our road warriors who are listening to the show, they're probably not familiar with what NABHOOD is. It's the National Association of Black Hotel Owners, Operators, and Developers.
You got it.
Ah, right. I haven't said that name in a little while. So tell me a little bit about the event, what the purpose of the event is, and what your observations were going through it.
Well, it's a great event. It's my second year actually going, and I appreciate the good people at NABHOOD. Andy Ingram, who's the president of the organization, does a fine job. And basically, what it is, I know your listeners know what a HOA is.
Mm-hmm. Asian American Hotel Owners Association, right? Mm-hmm.
There you go. You're very good with the acronyms. Like you do that, you really can do them out. But
I actually minored in acronym in college. It was English literature, then acronym, then radio, television, and film. Right under that.
Very good. Better than my major is political science, which got what is that? That's what my parents said. What is it? Anyway, so NABHOOD is kind of I would say on a smaller scale, like a HOA. It's an organization, obviously, that whose membership are African Americans. And they come together every year down in Biscayne Bay. And basically what it is, it's how to involve African Americans in the hotel industry, whether that's through development, investment, owning hotels, operating hotels. Really, it runs the gamut. And what I find is why I like this conference a lot. First of all, I love the intimate nature about it.
Right.
But everyone it's amazing. A lot of, and Glenn, you go to a lot of these conferences. Again, I won't name names, but the bigger ones. And you'll be maybe at a panel session, and I'm lucky enough I get to moderate. I got to moderate a great roundtable down there at a panel, but you kind of scan the crowd, and there'll be people, these bigger conferences, they're on their phones. They're not really listening. They're there kind of just to be there, to be seen kind of thing. This conference, I'm telling you right now, people are so eager to be there and curious that they are so engaged, and you can tell. I mean, we did a roundtable yesterday, a development roundtable, basically, and the kind of idea behind it was how to involve more African Americans in hotel ownership, okay?
That's terrific.
So it was a roundtable of about 8 people, but we had about 50 other people in the audience who just wanted to listen, and they were there. They wanted to ask questions. It was fantastic. They're just so eager, and the great part about it is they bring a lot of students in.
Right.
And these kids, I'm telling you right now, the hotel industry is in good hands because they want to learn and they want to work. That's what they want to do.
That's
and
great.
They're there and they're engaging everyone. And the conference is great. And, it's about having had to involve more African Americans in the industry. But it's just like any of your other hotel conferences. Maybe we go over what's going on in the industry, where the development is, how to get involved as an investor. What the financing looks like right now for hotels, what the brands are doing. We had a great panel with Bill Fortier from Hilton, Julius Robinson from Marriott on it. So
wow.
We had some great brands up there.
Those guys are big shots in those hotel brands for those who are not familiar with the names.
Oh yeah, they're absolutely. Bill runs development for Hilton in the Americas. Julius Robinson at Marriott, he oversees the Autograph Collection, which is, as you know, Marriott's soft brand. And another one, Norm Jenkins, who is the president and CEO of Capstone Development. He actually owns the Marriott Marquis in Washington D.C. He's really he used to work for Marriott for, I believe, 20 years. He's really like a hero amongst, when you go to this conference, everyone points to him as kind of this paradigm, someone who was able to really make it in the industry and become such a success story.
Right.
I actually wrote a profile about him for hotel management, I would say, maybe 4 or 5, 6 issues ago. But he's really a great guy, and a lot of people look up to him as a mentor and someone they really want to be like when these students, they say, I want to be Norm Jenkins when I get older. So it's a great conference in that regard, and always a hit. So.
Yeah, David, one of the things that I found was different about that particular event than other ones that I've been to, and to be fair, I have not been at the NAB Hood Conference, unfortunately, in 5+ years, so I may be a little off, and you'll correct me if I am. But I felt like it was much more about bringing new people into the hotel business. And there was a lot of folks there that it was about an aspirational thing as opposed to, hey, I'm already here, let's make another deal. So it was really more like Hotel 101 in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. Because, a lot of the industry events we go to, everyone, you kind of take for granted everyone knows what they're doing in the hotel industry. You're right. This is a lot about education. But on top of that, this conference is also about how to bring entrepreneurs in that maybe haven't done hotels before and bring them into the mix. So maybe they're a McDonald's franchise owner, they own a car dealership, something like that. We had 2 people on our panel, one who ran airport concessions, like that in that industry, another who was doing multifamily, and how to bring more African Americans into the actual and show them the benefits, the great returns, the great industry that the hotel industry provides. So it's about bringing people who are outside, not endemic, right, to the hotel industry and bringing them in. But you're right, and there's also that educational component. Really explaining, how to get a project off the ground. How do you do it? How do you partner with the brands? That kind of thing. Yeah. So it really gives you a really kind of good the basics too for how to really make it in this industry.
I love it. And that's definitely something I'll have to try to go to again at some point in the future.
You got to get back. Every time I go, they're like, where's Glenn Housman? Where's Glenn Housman?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's more like, thank God Glenn's not here. Thank God he's not here. But I do get to see Andy, who runs the association at all the big tentpole events throughout the year. Love hanging out with him, hearing his stories, and I hope that we're able to do more with him through hotel management in the future. Very worthy, very exciting, and I love the inclusive nature of it all. But Dave, one of the things that I've found is while these events are great, when it comes down to hotel ownership, I'm finding that sometimes customer behavior's needs are a little bit different than what the hotels are providing and supplying. And I'm finding that, sometimes it's a lot like that thing where your spouse leaves something by the door and you're like, I'm just going to leave it there until he or she puts it away. And then they don't put it away and you're annoyed by it for a little while. But then you and your spouse don't see it anymore. Right? It just becomes, it's there, but it's kind of invisible. And I think that in a lot of ways, it's kind of how certain things in the hotel environment have been. We've been doing it for so long that we don't even think about it anymore. We don't really see it anymore. And I think it's time that the hotel industry really throws out everything that's sacrosanct and think about all of these little elements in the business that may not appeal towards customers today. And that's a series of articles I've been writing on hotel management about things that we think that we can change to shave expenditures in hotels. So when you think about this, what are some of the what do you focus on? And first, let me say, I love that I put up the article, but then you put in some great gifts in there. So I highly encourage everyone to go to hotelmanagement.net and read 4 things hotels must change to shave expenses. So go for it, Dave.
Well, this is great because it's a fantastic segue, I must say, into your fantastic stories. And by the way, as the editor-in-chief, I get to see all the numbers. And let me tell you something. There's 7 more things. Well, first of all, there's 7. The article you're referring to, 4 things hotels have changed to shave expenditures, has just blown up, man. You really hit it out of the ballpark with that. Thousands of pages. Woo! So I congratulate you on that. Now, that was one we posted last week. I really love the one that you're doing now on the kind of the superfluous items that guests really probably don't care about anymore. You know? Yeah. And I'd love to refer. I'm actually editing one that you had today, so all our listeners out there, that'll be up soon on hotelmanagement.net. Now, I love the one you did on, first of all, the first one that you listed, and this is stuff that you think, your opinion, hotel guests might not need anymore. Now, you put the Bible in there. Right. That's very interesting to me. Now, as a fellow Jew, I'm kind of missed that the Torah doesn't exist somewhere in the drawer when I'm staying at my area hotel. But it's very interesting you say the Bible, and it's what made you come up with that one though?
I'll tell you, I can't say that I even thought of it. What happened was I started to get such great feedback from this first article. People really participating in giving me their opinions. I threw it up out on social media sites, and a lot of people tweeted me. A lot of people hit me up on Facebook, and a good chunk of people all started mentioning the Bible. Something I never really thought about because I rarely even open up a drawer in a guest room, so it's not something I'm consciously thinking of. But apparently there are a lot of folks out there that simply don't understand why it's there, think it's a relic of a bygone era, or in some cases are just really insulted that some people are trying to proselytize when they're just trying to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I've never. Yeah, it's just one of those things now that you obviously take for granted. You open up that drawer next to your bed, and there it is, staring at you in the face. The good book. So I would say I'm a kind of a religious guy. I don't care it's there. I'm not. But I will say, if we can kind of transition into the other one, I love the and this is the one I was going to actually.
Wait, but hold on. Before you transition on it, I have one last thought on the Bible. What I find interesting is, with more than half of hotel owners, most likely being of Muslim descent, right? Because they're or Hindu or non-Christian religions. Right. It's interesting that they still put this Bible given by the Gideons into their hotel rooms, and there's
fair enough. But Glenn, remember, we live in what do you call it, a Judeo-Christian, United States, and I think they're probably right there pandering. That's who their guest stars. So, but I get what you're saying totally. I don't want to turn this into some kind of religious debate.
But what I find most interesting about this whole thing is I actually expected to get some negative mail on it. Like I expected it to, because people, when it comes to religion, are very, very passionate about it. Oh, yeah. And the fact that nobody has written in to say that I'm a heretic is very interesting.
Yeah. There's 2 things you don't ever want to, that I've learned you don't want to really write about, or if you do, or talk about, but if you do, you have to do it very delicately. Mm-hmm. One is religion, and what I've learned in the past year is Donald J. Trump. Now, you really have to be careful when you write about that man, because either people hate him, or there are people out there that love this man like he is the Messiah. I've never seen anything quite like it. So I will leave it. I have maybe another story for another day about something I wrote about Trump and kind of the fallout from that. We can save that for another podcast.
I think that would be interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is amazing.
I personally have stopped talking about politics whatsoever because I had to do an emotional check. How do I want to be interacting with people? Do I want to build this podcast into something successful? And I don't want to get into the mud anymore. So I'm really trying hard to cut out politics as much as humanly possible and try to approach it from a different way. Now, in last week's podcast, I made mention of the RNC and there being a lot of hotel rooms available because it was so empty, but that had nothing to do with the political nature of it. It was just a fact of things. And the Democratic convention, all those hotel rooms sold out. Make of it what you will. Let's move on.
Yes, exactly. Leave the politics to MSNBC.
Yeah.
In those stuff. Yeah, and the other one, I was going to say bed scarves. I've never understood. You know what I use a bed scarf for? I'm a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll put my roller bag on it when I'm unpacking. Is that bad of me? Does anyone else do that?
Yeah, it's a good question.
That's what I use my bed scarves for, because right after that unpacking, they go right onto the floor.
Right.
It's kind of they're kind of an annoyance, right?
Yeah, I usually just take it and dip it in a vat of infectious disease and throw it back on the bed when I leave. So
yeah. Oh, and that's another infectious. And then the one you wrote today, which is great, glasses. Now you know what? Those glasses, you're right. There's some horror stories about them. I only use those glasses. I'll put my toothbrush in there, not bristles down, but handle down. A glass in any guest room I will never drink out of. I will use it to carry my toiletries in. And that's I think about it that I will use them. Have you actually drank out of a hotel glass before? I'd love to know. Did you survive?
Yeah, I have. I am not as concerned as the general public is. I think there are instances where they're not cleaned correctly, but I also think it depends on the particular type of hotel you're in. If I'm fortunate enough to be surrounded in a 5-star experience, I feel comfortable enough to drink out of those glasses, and I'm not going to spend my whole life worrying about these things. If you think about it, on a fundamental basis, a hotel room, no matter how clean it is probably still a heck of a lot more filthy than your home. But you know what? I'm eating in restaurants. I'm sitting in airplanes, and I see a lot of guys leave the restroom without washing their hands. So I can't live my life in fear. In fact, I think an argument can be made that continually dosing yourself with all of the germs and stuff like that might make you stronger. I think there's going to be this generation of kids that's being raised on all of this. I'm forgetting the name of the stuff that you put on your hands. The sanitizing stuff. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Right. They are not going to be able to build up the immunity that we have when we were growing up. And I think there is something to be said about that. A regular dose of germs. Not that I think hotels should start advertising that anytime soon, but I think we need to be pragmatic and realistic about how we interact with the world and how much cleaner it really is than it was just 100 years ago.
I tend to agree with you. They're all just super buzz to talk about, but I think what we all, the audience is now learning is Glenn Houston has a very strong constitution.
Yeah.
Injecting things. So I'll give that to you. So I'm not as brave as you, but
I wouldn't call it brave. Maybe I'm just foolish. Maybe I'm just not paying attention to the obvious.
Hey man, you're still living and you're doing a podcast, so you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the last one I love is the toilet sashes. Now, you're right. I guess you're right. The toilet sashes are what they put around like the toilet bowl that says this has been cleaned, it's been sanitized for your protection, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I find that so unappealing and such a turnoff when I go in the hotel room and see that, because it just screams like institutional. It's not welcoming. It kind of frightens me. I don't know what your take is on those two.
Oh, my take is it's extremely frightening to me, because if you're going out of your way to tell me how clean it is, what are you not really telling me? What are you overcompensating for? What are you covering up? So that's how I feel about those toilet sashes. And I agree. In the article, I say that maybe everyone in the hotel should be forced to wear them. Haven't shaved all week. Haven't showered in a month. All of that kind of stuff. At least we know what we're dealing with, and you could be entirely truthful in that case. Yeah,
I tend to agree with that. Yeah, I mean, you got to, and readers, go on hotelmanagement.net and read these, and, there's some really good ones there. I love the whole, daily maid service. I'm not, some people, we've heard, they go into their room, they check in for 4 days, they put that do not disturb sign on their door, and for the entire time, because they don't want anyone in there. My whole thing is, the housekeepers, I will give them this, they are fantastic what they do. They make the bed so tight, and I'm one of those, if you've seen that Seinfeld episode, I like to have the non-tuck seats, because if I get into them, it's like I'm literally trapped. I can't get out of them. And I try to kick out, and then, I'm 40 years old, and I pull a groin trying to literally just get off of my head. It's not an easy proposition for me.
No, that's not, David. And unfortunately, I'm insanely lazy. If I lock myself in and then find myself incredibly uncomfortable, I will actually just lie there and suffer for an hour trying to fall asleep rather than spend 10 seconds to just untuck it. It's foolish. Yeah,
you're a masochist. I like that. All right, you like it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, so true. And speaking of a masochist, that's why I really like to travel so much and go through airports. But thank God the TSA created that pre-check program. In the next segment coming up, we're going to be talking to John Salmon, Director of Marketing with TSA, because we really want to urge all hoteliers in the business to help travelers get involved in this program. And we also dispel a lot of the myths out there about why people hate them. And I'm really hoping, Dave, that you're going to stick around and listen to that segment.
Absolutely. And let me just add, hoteliers should be marketing this at the front desk. It should be part of their loyalty programs. This is something that really hoteliers should get behind.
Yes, and it is, and certain brands will be unveiling those types of programs, but make sure you stay tuned after the commercial break to hear what they had to say at the TSA. Dave, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Glenn.
It was great. So now I hope you've thought about that shameless plug, because it's your turn. Go. All right, no shameless plug from Dave. Glad you did your part there.
Good, man. We're good?
Yeah. We're good. All right, make sure you read Dave's stuff at hotelmanagement.net. Find him if you need to send him an email, deisen@questex.com. Is that your email? Because I have a different one than you do.
That's my email address.
Great. And make sure you read my columns twice a week at hotelmanagement.net. Give us that 5-star rating on iTunes, and be sure to tell your friends, family, and random people on the street to check out the No Vacancy podcast. Thanks, guys, and we'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Get a $50 Best Western gift card when you stay 2 separate times. Plus, enjoy breakfast and free high-speed internet. Rewards members get even more when you book direct at bestwestern.com. Visit bestwestern.com for terms and conditions. Each Best Western branded hotel is independently owned and operated.
Stuff like that. So, I've been off the road now for a couple of weeks, and I'm starting to feel a little too calm, a little too relaxed, but I know what happens after that. About 2 or 3 weeks after I get home, I start to freak out because I haven't been in an airport. I haven't been overcharged for coffee or for any sort of breakfast item, and it makes me feel really uncomfortable. And maybe that's not why I have John Salmon, the Chief Marketing Officer at the Transportation Security Administration, with me today, but it is my main concern. Forget all that security stuff, John. I want to know why Starbucks charges more for coffee in the terminal instead of outside the terminal. So thanks for being here today.
You're welcome, Glenn. It's my pleasure, and I appreciate your inviting us here.
So, thank you, and I appreciate it. I want to put out a general warning to everybody that this call is not meant to, this conversation is not meant to suck up to you guys, but I've really come a long way, and I used to be like one of those folks back in the good old days that used to like making fun of you and giving you a hard time because it was fun, it was easy, it was a cool thing to do, and I really felt better about myself when I made you guys suffer a little bit. But I realized, John, that you guys are in a tough spot. It is hardcore what you have to deal with on a major, major level. And I'm just curious, how do you deal with all of that abuse? Do you have special training that you have to deal with? Did you have to go through 5 broken marriages first before you can just blast out all feelings? How do you handle it?
Oh, it's tough. Now we see about 2 million people a day, and they're just trying to get from one place to another safely, and we are trying to get them there safely. And it's a lot of things you have to go through. The folks who are trying to do bad things in the air are very creative, and they're constantly coming up with new and different ways. And so we try to do this in a way that keeps everybody safe, but yet makes their trip as pleasant as possible. And there are a lot of folks, 60,000 employees. You have to, in terms of getting them trained and getting them aware of what to look for, and yet make the travelers feel comfortable to get on their way.
Yeah, and it really is amazing work that you guys are doing out there. And again, not to belabor the point, but it's so easy to say what you guys are doing wrong, but nobody really, I think, objectively looks at what you're doing right. I've been in this business, in the travel industry, since 1996, so about 20 years. And you know what? I've been safe for the last 15 years. I was flying on 9/11. I was taking off from LaGuardia Airport, and I saw one of the World Trade Center buildings on fire. And I know what happened, and I felt it. And the people that we were with on the plane, once we landed, and people started making phone calls, and we learned what happened, we lived through that day. So as easy it is to say what you guys are not doing, I want to say what you are doing, and you are keeping us all safe, and you are moving us through. And what are you doing? 3.2 million checked and carry-on bags a day you have to look through?
In terms of bags, yeah. And again, there's about 2 million travelers, and each one has a bag and a half, or a couple bags. And so check baggage, carry-on bags, and it's a lot of bags to look at and a lot of folks to look at.
A lot of bags and a lot of folks to look at, for sure. So, what I want to talk a little bit about is how you're really starting to address these concerns. You've kind of been beaten up a little bit over the last few months. I don't know why suddenly everybody decided that 2016 was a great time to make fun of you, but I know you've been through a lot of budget cuts, and I know you're now trying to place back a lot of those hirees and get them out there and deployed. So tell us a little bit about what you've been experiencing and how you feel that you're going to make travelers' lives easier as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we have, again, the travel demand this year, as you know, is up about a double-digit increase. And yet over the last couple of years, the number of the frontline screeners, officers we've had has been reduced. So very recently, we have hired an additional almost 800 additional officers, and we've reprogrammed about $25 million for additional overtime funding, particularly for the summer, because we were concerned about the summer and how things would go. And I think you're aware, in terms of Memorial Day went smoothly, and then again on the 4th of July it went smoothly. I think with the 4th of July saw our highest day since 2007. A lot of people traveling. In addition, we've moved staff around. I think people have heightened the operational focus in terms of where folks need, particular airports need additional resources, and also coordinating very closely with the airlines in terms of what their travel demand is going to be, opening up earlier in many cases and getting ahead of the curve so that you don't have that backup starting early in the morning that just kind of continues through the day. So a lot of operational things and resource focus to get things through, particularly through this busy travel summer.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found frustrating, I know you're working on, is like sometimes you show up and there's a long line and people are like, well, they had to have known these people were going to show up because the flights are scheduled and they've been scheduled for months at a time. So how do you address that kind of criticism? Because some of it seems like you're getting unfairly blamed necessarily for things that aren't your fault, like the major increases in flight schedules.
Yeah, and again, also it's a compression of schedules at certain airports.
Yes.
As people, airlines compete for slots, and some slots appears to be working very well. Others compress to that slot. So again, we work locally with the airlines, and also have regular calls with the airline operating headquarters so that we do have the best information we can get. And again, there are sometimes certain days when you do get a very heavy travel demand, you get lines that back up. But I think what we've seen recently since Memorial Day anyway, that about 99% of the people are getting through in less than 30 minutes. So things that happened back in May, we have not seen again since Memorial Day over June through July. Again, just to focus on the operation, more resources has helped quite a bit.
That's good. And another thing that's got to help is Americans have the short attention span of goldfish, so they probably don't remember most of this anyway. So you got that going for you. But I think the challenge, John, is it's when you look at Atlanta, you don't have as many entryways into the airport as opposed to LaGuardia, which everyone loves to malign for the quality of the airport. But I fly out of there frequently. And because there's so many places to go in, the lines never seem to get that long. But not so much in Atlanta. So that's got to be something that you folks are thinking about as well.
Yeah, we are. And again, we're working closely with Delta and putting in also some additional, some newer screening technology.
I wanted to talk about that.
Screening. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of lanes to speed up the bins going through and reduce the amount of time it takes for people to get through the regular lanes. So,
how do these new lines work?
Well, it's in terms of the actual where you put your bag down. Mm-hmm. It's automated, so they're also the bags are tagged so that you can relate the bags and the property to the customer in case they have to be pulled out to be re-inspected. And so the whole process is designed not only in terms of moving the bags along, but also screening the bags is to speed up, make it more efficient than people kind of pushing things along manually and then dragging them off and looking at them, and in terms of bags that do need additional attention. So,
well, I appreciate that as a traveler, even though I'm part of the precheck program, and we'll talk about all of that fun stuff in a minute. But when I'm going through the airport, I feel so sorry for the guy that's up there, one of your staff folks, and he's like, please remove all the liquids from your bag. Take your laptops off, and does that whole speech over and over again. And then everybody just kind of looks at each other confused and then doesn't listen. And then you guys get yelled at for creating long lines when I think travelers are somewhat culpable as well. So I don't want you to tell me how much travelers suck because that would be against your job. But what can we do to get them to focus a little bit more in this important area that everybody just wants to go through and pretend it never happened?
Yeah, I think that, it is in terms of all the different folks in the travel industry, I think reminding people what they need to do. And also there is a security reason for it. People have tried to blow up planes with liquids and blow up planes with their shoes and blow up planes with laptops and things like that. So there is a reason for it. And but part of it also, I think if you look at the concentration distribution of passengers, the large majority of the passengers travel just once or twice a year. They don't travel that often.
That's right.
You really have about 25% of the travelers make up about 50% of the trips. And then, so it's really 75% of the people make up 50% of the trips. And their average is, a trip, maybe a trip and a half, 2 trips a year. So that's part of the challenge, is that a lot of the folks, particularly in the standard screening line, are not, your regular traveler. And so, the reminding is necessary. It's
true. I think that's a battle that you're never going to be able to completely win. And I can speak to that personally. When I take my annual vacation with my family, inevitably, when my kids were younger, my wife would leave the water in the bag. And no matter how many times I told her, you got to take the liquids out, it would get left in there. Nothing against her, but this could be a stressful situation going through TSA, so sometimes you forget things. So we've slowed the lines up, but I'd like to think I made it up a lot with joining PreCheck. Before we get into that, tell us why maybe joining the TSA might be a great idea and actually be a career path for people in the future.
Well, I think a lot of folks, we do have a large number of opportunities around the country in terms of positions. We have a large number of folks who are TSA officers who were former military, and they see that as in terms of what their former career is, and joining TSA and the mission in terms of protecting the traveling public is an important thing. So what a lot of folks also who go through TSA go up through the ranks in TSA. Some also see other opportunities in other departments such as Customs and Border Protection and other related DHS departments. So there are, I think, people as they look at what they'd like to do in terms of a career, it is a good opportunity that they should take a look at.
I like that you're able to transfer from one department to another, and even though it's you come in and you start the lowest ranks, you can really move your way up. I think that's pretty cool, and something that I would hope a lot of folks would be interested in doing, because I see these guys at LaGuardia, I see them at JFK and all the airports I go to, and a lot of them are really nice people. I used to it used to be really cool, like I said, for me to give them flack and stuff like that, but then I realized they just want to make some money. They want to pay their bills. They're just like you and me, and I think the nicest thing to do is when you see them, you make direct eye contact with them. You say, hi, how are you today? I hope everything's going well. And you know what? I think your trip through there goes a lot smoother when you do something like that.
Yeah, and in New York in particular, we have a lot of ex-NYPD officers who work at those airports. And again, it brings not only it works for them, but it also brings us a level of expertise that really helps in the business we're in.
Have you thought about any other things, and I'm sure this is going on behind the scenes, but I guess my question is, can you publicly talk about any new ideas that you folks might have beyond what we talked about at the Atlanta airport to help either improve the security process or create another layer of security that is actually going to make us feel and be safer?
Well, again, we're always looking at the intelligence in terms of what people are up to. What kinds of things are we seeing, hearing? Looking at not only the traveling public, but also the insider threat at airports in terms of how we address that, and in terms of the background checks of the folks who are already there. And technologies, we're always looking for new technologies that will enable us to do a better job, not only screening, but also technologies I think you'll see down the road in terms of biometrics being used. Not only today, they're used in terms of the background check for pre-check, but then also being able to use for access control to the airport, getting through the checkpoint, the people we know are trusted in terms of their biometrics, access, and then also relating to also in terms of the levels of trusted travelers. We may see down the road in terms of the levels of actual physical scrutiny based upon the traveler and connected to his biometrics. Ooh. So it may be a much more transparent process for people rather than the way we do it today. But again, I think there's a lot of opportunity out there to improve the process, not only from the traveler standpoint, but also in terms of the security standpoint.
I just want to know, John, how far is it until we get to like the security they had in Total Recall when they were going to Mars, where they basically just got to walk through and you saw the skeleton bodies, although I know you've gotten a little bit in trouble for showing bodies and stuff like that. But I like that idea because in theory, it's that people just kept moving. And if there was a problem, you could stop it. But it moved along the process. And that's really what we're talking about today, is moving along that process, making it as quick as possible. And to me, I joined Global Entry and got pre-check with Global Entry. I found it to be an amazing program and one that was really easy to sign up. But I'm not finding that a lot of my fellow travelers really are hearing what I have to say, no matter how much I hit them over the heads that they have to join pre-check.
Well, there are since we spoke earlier, actually, even earlier this year.
Yes, we've been, to fill in the listeners, we've been talking since May when you read an article that I wrote, and we've been talking about how to push pre-check a little bit more within the hospitality sphere. And you guys were signing up, you had a goal, 10,000 a day, was it?
Well, we're shooting at 10,000 a day. We're probably running about 12,000 a day, and if you add the Customs and Border Patrol Global Entry, there's about another 4,000 or 5,000 a day. So we're probably around 15,000 plus a day nationally in terms of enrollments between Global Entry and pre-check.
So what's happened in the last 2 months to really see this get more invigorated?
Well, I think, we talked a couple of months ago about the scorecard in terms of where we were, and we have a scorecard that we measure the 4 sectors in the hospitality industry: the airlines, the travel management companies, travel agents, hotel chains, and the credit cards. And if you look, and within that, we look at each of the major companies and their market share. And then we look at what kind of marketing penetration are we getting from those companies. And we look at that on 4 levels. Are they doing just general pre-check promotion? Are they doing loyalty customer messaging? Are they facilitating enrollment through website links or on-site enrollments? Or finally, what kind of rewards do they have in terms of either reimbursement or points redemption? In that scorecard, we've moved up considerably, even in the last several months, had a number of airlines come on board, credit cards, and also hotel chains. The airlines, you might have seen, Southwest recently rolled out their rewards program, points redemption. United announced that they will be coming out sometime, we believe, in August.
Terrific.
And that will be basically every major airline will have some type of rewards program for precheck and or precheck or global entry. In terms of credit cards, we've had a couple credit cards come out in addition to American Express, and we expect two majors to be coming out in the next month or two. And in terms of hotel chains, Carlson Residor recently announced their rewards program, and Hilton, within a couple of weeks, that Hilton Honors members will be able to purchase TSA PreCheck with their Hilton Honors points. So we'll have, in addition to Hilton, then we have a number of the other hotel chains who are doing either social media or website links and so on. So the score I think we're at for the hotel chains last time we talked was down about a 5%
Yes, it
score.
was. Mm-hmm.
It's now up to 37%.
Wow. That is a significant jump because we were talking in the beginning of May. So to go from that far, that quick, is really a testament now to how the hotel industry is really paying attention. And I've been out there writing and trying to get the word out on the street that the airline industry is inexorably connected to the hotel business. And we, as in the hotel business and as road warriors, we need to really figure out how to get more people to join the program, because the more people that join the program, the better off we're all going to be. You've put a lot of money and resources to having all of those lanes, and I'd like to see people using them more often and more frequently, but not too much, because I don't want to wait more than a few minutes, John. So I wish you a lot of success, but not that much success.
Not that much. In addition to the hotel chain, Sonify is going to be serving up our pre-check video in about 1 million hotel rooms in North America.
Right. Now, for those of you listening that don't know what Sonify is, they're the ones that provide movie and entertainment programming on the television station. When you turn on the channel, turn on the TV in the room, usually something from Sonify is the first one to come up. So that video will be shown to 1 million rooms. That's a lot of people that you're going to be exposed to every year.
A lot more exposure, and we're looking forward to it. But again, I think with the hotel chains, they are that is fertile ground, and we're making significant progress. And again, thanks to you and your help, has been we're making headway.
Well, I'm trying, because I think this is really good for everybody. And, to use that old trite phrase, at the end of the day, that's really what this is all about. All of us working together in order to find greater success for each and every one of us. And I don't see that enough in our broad-based society, especially what's going on right now with everybody becoming polarized in this country. But I think we can all get together and realize that the more people that are in these programs, the more that we travel, the more that we're going to help enable a better country for us to live in. And that's great that you guys are doing what you can in order to make it work. And let me say, based on your March data, the value is really great for going ahead and even paying that fee spread out over 5 years. It really winds up being like, what, $1.21 to go through security, as opposed to a lot more money than before, right?
Yeah, it does. And if you look at the average value, the value time for the average business traveler, it's probably saving $6 in time value versus paying $1.25 or whatever it is for the cost of enrollment.
That's nearly enough for me to afford that Starbucks, John.
You can pay with the store. You can get a latte.
Yes, exactly. I'll be like, yes, today I'm gonna get the venti. So thank you. I don't have to get the tall, which I never understood, because tall is really not very tall. It's really very tiny, and that's not
short.
good enough for me.
It's a short tall.
Yes, but we'll address that. We're going to address that on my new podcast, Lying Drink Sizes, which is going to be available at iTunes next week. But more seriously, though, I love that 95% of pre-check travelers are really waiting 5 minutes or less to get through the security line. And that's really encouraging to me. And one of the other things I've noticed recently is even when the pre-check security lanes are not open, you guys are making it so folks like me don't have to remove the laptops from the bag, don't have to take our shoes off and, quite frankly, look cool to everybody else in line that's going through all the regular rigmarole.
Yeah, we're trying to, the folks who enroll in PreCheck, we're trying to make sure that experience is available as much as possible, even though a particular line may not be open at a certain time of day. So
right, I'm comfortable with that. I was recently in Fort Myers, RSW, and they just didn't have that lane going, so I got a little card, and I just had to show it to the person, and I got to avoid going through the big body scanner and just went straight through the metal detector, and boom, I'm in and out. So, thank you for making sure that you did that particular part of the program, because it used to be like I would be very disappointed when I would show up and not have pre-check. So now even if a lane isn't open, I still get the same benefits, and I feel like I'm on the VIP line in Vegas.
It's all for you. That's what we're doing.
Well, really, isn't that what travel is all about? Making all of us feel like you guys are there for us specifically.
Yeah. And it is, again, I think what our appeal has been to all the sectors of the travel industry. If you think about loyalty counts, and one of the most valued travel attributes in a recent American Express Global Business Travel Association attributes was getting through airport security, the ease of getting through. So if you think about all the travel, the travel industry in terms of their customers with loyalty counts, if you can give them what they want in terms of getting through airport security, easier, better, more pleasantly, then you're buying customer loyalty. So it's in their interest to support this and make it happen, because it really does improve the customer base, and the customer shows up at the hotel, they're nice and relaxed, and whatever your brand is offering, the amenities you offer, they're much more willing to accept it and appreciate it and become a loyal customer.
Yep. I love it. So, John, if we've convinced people to join PreCheck or Global Entry, which gets you through the Department of Homeland Security lines very quickly, if you're entering the country and you get PreCheck with that, what is the best way for folks to find PreCheck and sign up for that?
So the best way to do it, it's pretty simple, is you go to TSA.gov, and there is an enrollment screen, and you fill out the enrollment screen. It should take you no more than 5 minutes to do that. It will, at the end of the process, then it will ask you to select an enrollment location for an appointment. Mm-hmm. You show up at the location with your either your form of ID, and if you have a passport, just a passport. If you have a driver's license, bring a driver's license and a birth certificate, or some other form of citizenship. You go there, they take your fingerprints, check your ID, collect money, and then within a short period of time, you get your known traveler number, and you're off, ready to go.
Beautiful. And it's worked great for me, and the experience that I had registering for the program was great. I did it at JFK Terminal 4, and I really enjoyed talking to the Department of Homeland Security guys. And their whole attitude was the more Americans that can get involved in the Global Entry and PreCheck programs, the more opportunities that they'll have to patrol our borders and make us safe by deploying people where they're really needed. Not worrying about you or me, John, but about the people that are actually going to do us some harm.
Yeah, as it is, it's 99.9% of the people just want to get from one place to another safely, and that's that's what they're trying to do. So we want to make sure we can identify those folks, get them through the process as quickly as possible, and then spend our time with folks that we don't know as much about.
Great. And I think maybe I should do another show on things that you should leave at home before going to the airport. I'm amazed at some of the stuff that you guys find.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty amazing. All kinds of things people try to take through.
Yes. Too funny. Well, John, thank you so much for talking with me today, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day.
Glad it's a pleasure, and we appreciate it. You take care.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.